Look, I bought the damn thing. I might as well get some enjoyment out of it anytime I do a review for one of the games in this franchise. By the way, I'm reviewing Gears of War Judgment.
Blast! Closing in! No prisoners today!
So anyway, a while back I did a video on seeing if a download voucher code that came with the game would still work after like 10 years, and it did, and that game was Gears of War Judgment, and I said that, yeah, I was currently working on a review for Gears of War Judgment. Well, here's the review. And also, a while back, I did review the very first Gears of War game that came out on the Xbox 360. It's one of my earliest reviews, and so it's really rough quality, but you can kind of take a look at it. I still kind of stand by a lot of the same points. And, like, now, back with this, this is kind of like the first chronological point in the series, and so that's why I'm kind of starting with this instead of continuing on with, you know, Gears of War 2 or, you know, something like that. Now, the first thing I want to point out with this game is just how beautiful this game is. You have to remember or understand that this came out at the tail end of the Xbox 360. So this was pushing the 360 to its absolute limits. I mean, this thing really got the most it could out of the hardware for the 360. And the other interesting thing is that this wasn't developed by Epic Games. It was developed by a studio called People Can Fly. And they are a studio that are known for very, very vibrant colors. And you can see that in this game. In the original Gears of War game, there was a couple of core colors, and that was it. And in this game, it's like, hey, let's throw some green here, let's throw some blue over there, let's throw a lot of color in this game. And it absolutely shows. It is a very gorgeous game to look at. And it's one of the best running 360 Gears of War games you are going to find. So on the Xbox Series X, this thing gets upgraded insanely. So not only does it get all the 4K, upgrades that the Xbox One and the One X gave it this game, it also gets the Series X upgrades like Auto HDR and FPS boost. And both of those are enabled on this game, and this game really looks nice with Auto HDR running at 60 frames per second. I mean, just damn. Very gorgeous, running at that speed, and it ran very, very nicely. The only technical issues I ran to this game on the Series X was that a couple of times it didn't want to load in my profile into the game. It's like, sorry, you have to back out and try again. It happened a couple times. It was a little annoying, but I mean, it's not a deal breaker. So, for a backwards compatible title for the Xbox One, it's a great deal. For a Series X, it is a fantastic backwards compatible title. This is a game that really gets all the benefits it can get on the Series X. And yeah, definitely really great in that area. Now, in terms of gameplay, there's a couple of really new things I enjoy with this game. So one, you get a couple of new weapons, like another grenade launcher, a couple of sniper rifles, that honestly work a little bit better than the long shot in my opinion. But that's just me. And then there's this new chapter progression thing that happens in each kind of segment. I don't want to call them levels, but kind of each time the levels are broken up into these segments, and each segment has a red gear skull on the wall that you go up and activate. And when you do this, it gives like a mission modifier to that segment you're about to play. And typically when I hear about this, it's like, yeah, I don't really see myself doing this. Yeah, I don't see myself going to have a lot of fun with this, but I just tried the first one for the hell of it, and the mission modifiers are actually the best part of the game, because it really broke up the game to not feel monotonous or feel like you're just doing the same stuff over and over again. And you get these modifiers, like, for example, one modifier might have you fight through a sandstorm, so visibility is really low, and you could be running up to an enemy much stronger than you and not even know it. Another modifier would be, hey, you can only use pistols and shotguns. And, like, to me, that sounded terrible. Like, why would I want to do that? But I did anyway. And it's like, no, this is actually a lot of fun trying to take out this next group of enemies with shotguns and pistols. Other ones, enemies might blow up at you if they get too close. Some, there's like a countdown timer. Like, hey, this area is going to get bombed. You got to get through it in like 3 minutes. And just hearing them, they don't seem that exciting. But doing them was a much different experience, because it's like, yeah, no, I had a lot of fun turning all of these on. The only one I didn't turn on was one at the end. It was just insanely, ridiculously hard. Like, hey, you have to get through this whole next segment in 2 minutes, and the bomb's going to fall, and like the next segment would take you 5 minutes to get through without trying to, you know, run it. And even if you try running it and not kill all the enemies, you can't get to the next segment without killing all the enemies, and it's like almost impossible. If someone actually got that segment done, I would probably shake their hand. But apart from that one little thing, it was fun turning on all of these chapter progression, you know, skull things. And of course, it helps unlock the Aftermath DLC much quicker as well. More on that in a little bit. And speaking of this like chapter progression thing, that in addition to a much different weapon button layout made this feel like a much different Gears of War game. Because in Gears of War, use a grenade, you have to do thumb pad. And in this game, you use like the right bumper button, which is typical for a lot of games when you're doing grenades. It's like this controller layout kind of adhered to more modern games, I guess it kind of felt, than the old Gears of War games where they had that very distinct button layout. It's a little hard for you to understand this if you've never played a Gears of War game before, but once you do, you'll understand what I'm saying. Now, the story is so-so. You basically play as Cole and Damon Bard, and this is before they meet Marcus Phoenix, although there is like a small Marcus Phoenix cameo in here. But this is before they meet him, and they're on trial for being court-martialed for something they did. And the entire game is basically their testimony on what they did to get to that point and when they decide to disobey rules. And like, the story's so-so. It's not terrible, it's not amazing, it's not riveting, it's just an excuse to get you from point A to point B and put you in these situations. And if this is the first chronological point in terms of games in this series, it's kind of weird because it's still kind of confusing, like, as to what places are and things. Like, I don't think this game ever once explains that Sarah, the planet you're on, is an alien planet that's not Earth. And, like, they never really get into detail, like, what the locusts are. This is, like, a couple weeks after Emergence Day. It's like, why haven't we seen a video game about Emergence Day yet? This is a very successful franchise. Alright, we've seen numerous games. They're working on the 6th one, and we still haven't seen freaking Emergence Day in a video game yet. Oh, I know there's books about Emergence Day, but I mean, honestly, like, this is the main medium for this franchise. Like, don't you think the start should be in video game format? I'm just saying. And so that was kind of weird for me. And then, like, the main villain is very limitedly used, and the main villain is Karn. That's his name. He's like a locust general, and like he's referred to a lot, but it's just like there's nothing tying me to this villain. It's just like a blank, one-dimensional bad guy. There's Nothing that's like making me really intimidated by him. It's like, oh, big shock, he's riding a giant creature. It's like they didn't put a lot of work into the main villain, and yet they're talking about him like he's such a big baddie. And it's like, you know, I just think they could have done a little bit better job on the main villain. Now, once you get there's like a star system in this game, and once you get to a certain star rating, like 40 stars, you unlock the Aftermath DLC campaign. It's on disc, you don't have to pay anything for it, and basically this takes place after the events of Gears of War 3, and it follows Damien and Cole as they run into one of their teammates from this game. And so this game kind of acts as like the first bookend to the series, and then this Aftermath DLC acts as the other end of the Gears of War trilogy. If you've never played Gears of War 3, do not play this. I have yet to play it because I haven't played Gears of War 3 yet. I haven't played it yet. And I don't want to have anything spoiled for me. And they had like a previously on Gears of War 3, and they started telling me everything started happening. It's like, okay, nope, stop. And so because of that, yes, I will do a separate review on the Aftermath DLC because of this. But it's there. You have to unlock it with 40 stars, which is kind of easy if you do all of the, checkpoint, things I was talking about earlier. But, it's just, it would be nice for them to be a little bit more clear on if, when I start that, it's like, hey, you might want to play Gears of War 3 before playing this. Simple heads up would have been nice. Now, moving on to the replayability factor stuff. There is a horde mode and a multiplayer mode back. And ever since Gears of War 2, multiplayer has had bots in it. Thank you. And so they bring back multiplayer, which is just as successful as ever. It's important to note that there is a free DLC map. You might want to get that. And Gears of War has always been very giving with some of its maps. It doesn't feel like there's only 3 maps. Alright, it's like, oh, this does feel like there's a lot of maps I can enjoy with this. And one of the multiplayer modes is actually really a lot of fun. Basically, how this mode works is you start off with a weapon, and you have to kill an enemy with that weapon, and once you do that, you get a different weapon. And basically, you have to kill one enemy with every weapon in the game. There's like 20. And that was actually a lot of fun, because it's like, there were some weapons I didn't think would be as easy as it was, and there were some weapons I thought would be really easy. It's like, that's actually a lot harder to get a kill with than I thought it would be. And so, yeah, no, that was a really fun multiplayer mode. I'm curious if it is any other Gears of War games, so who knows. And then Survivor mode is like an upgrade version of Horde mode. It's just this time you have objective, and basically you need to stop the Locust from destroying like this generator or this device that you're trying to keep running, and you have a certain time limit, and if you get to that time limit you can push them back. And so it's kind of like this give and take type situation, and it's a lot of fun, especially with people. Doing it by yourself, it's like I mean, you can throw bots, yeah, you can do it like that, but it's just not as exciting when you have actual life people playing it. But I am glad you can play it by yourself offline. I am not regretting that at all. So, did I like Gears of War Judgment? Yes. There is one thing worth knowing though. It took me 3 times to try and get through this game. And so the important thing is, I tried starting to play it on Xbox 360. And I just kind of lost interest. And so I tried again on Xbox One. And again, I kind of lost interest. And then I finished playing it on Xbox Series X, and finally, I got it finished. And it's like, kind of gotta hold that against the game, because it wasn't able to hold my attention for 2 other times. Finally, the 3rd time I was able to hold my attention, but it's just, is that an issue on my part, or an issue on Fellow's part? I don't know, sound off in the comments down below if you think it's theirs or my fault. But, I mean, I kind of have to hold it against them. But overall, yes, I enjoyed Gears of War Judgment. It was a fun game. I thought it was one of the best looking Gears of War game out of the entire series, and so that's been my review for Gears of War Judgment. My name's Christopher Khan with 11-hour reviews. What did you guys think about this game? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Sound off the comments down below, and that will be all.